Shalom, and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of Mark, starting at chapter 14. Mark chapter 14, verse 1. 1. After 2 days was the protection, mercy, salvation Passover, with matzah, is eaten, and the chief Kohanim and the experts in the Torah sought how they might take him by deceit and put him to death. 2. But they said, not on the celebration day, lest there be an uproar of the people. 3. And being in Bethany, in the house in the Beth of Shimon the jar merchant, as he sat at the meal, there came a woman having an alabaster box of ointment of spikenard, very precious, and she broke the box and poured it on his head. 4. And there were some that had indignation within themselves and said, why was this precious ointment wasted? 5. For it might have been sold for more than 300 denarii and have been given to the poor. And they murmured against her. 6. And Yeshua said, let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has done a good work on me. 7. For you have the poor with you always, and whensoever you wish, you may do good to them. But me you have not always. 8. She has done what she could. She has come beforehand to anoint my body for the burial. 9. Verily I say to you, wheresoever this Besorah shall be preached throughout the whole world, this also that she has done shall be spoken of for a remembrance of her. 10. And Yehuda Quiriath, one of the 12, went to the chief Kohanim to betray him to them. 11. And when they heard it, they were glad, and promised to give him money, and he sought how he might conveniently betray him. 12. And before the day of Karg, Motzav, unleavened bread, when they killed the protection, mercy, salvation Passover, his disciples said to him, where shall we go for you that we may prepare a place that you may eat the Passover? 13. And he sent forth 2 of his disciples and said to them, go into the city, and there you shall meet a man bearing a pitcher of Mayim, water. Follow him. 14. And wheresoever he shall go in, say to the owner of the Beth, the house, the Rabbi said, where is the guest room, where I shall eat the protection, the mercy, salvation Passover with my disciples? 15. And he will show you a large upper room, furnished and prepared. There make ready for us. 16. And his disciples went forth and came into the city, and found as he had said to them, and they made ready the protection, mercy, salvation, Passover. 17. And in the evening he came with the 12. 18. And as they sat and did eat, Yeshua said, verily I say to you, one of you which eats with me shall betray me. 19. And they began to be sorrowful, and say to him one by one, is it I? And another said, is it I? 20. And he answered and said to them, it is one of the 12 that dips with me in the dish. 21. The Son of Man indeed goes, as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better that this man, if he had never been born. 22. And as they did eat, Yeshua took lechem, bread, and said the blessing over it, and broke it, and gave it to them, and said, take, eat, this is my body. 23. And he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. 24. And he said to them, This is my blood of the covenant, which is shed for many. 25. Verily I say to you, I will drink no more of the fruit of the vine until that day that I drink it in the kingdom of Elohim. 26. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. 27. And Yeshua said to them, You shall all be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. 28. But after that I have risen, I will go before ye into Galilee. 29. But Kepha said to him, Although all shall be offended, but I will not. 30. And Yeshua said to him, Verily I say to you, that this day, even this night, before the crier blows the shofar twice, you shall deny me thrice. 31. But he spoke the more vehemently, If I should die with you, I will not deny you in any way. All the rest said the same. 32. And they came to a place which was named Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, Sit here while I shall petition. 33. And he took with him Kepha, Peter, and Yaakov, and Yehochanan, John, and began to be so amazed, and to be very heavy. 34. And said to them, My soul is exceedingly sorrowful to death. Stay here and watch. 35. And he went forward a little, and fell on the ground, and petitioned, that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. 36. And he said, Av, all things are possible to you. Take away this cup from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will. 37. And he came and found them sleeping, and said to Kepha, Shimon, Peter, Simon, you are sleeping. Could you not watch 1 hour? 38. Watch and petition, lest you enter into a trial. The Ruach, the Spirit, truly is ready, but the flesh is weak. 39. And again he went away and petitioned and spoke the same words. 40. And when he returned, he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. Neither did they know what to say. 41. And he came the third time and said to them, Are you still sleeping and resting? It is enough. The hour has come. Behold, the Son of Man is being handed over into the hands of transgressors. 42. Rise up, let us go. Lo, he that hands me over has drawn near. 43. And immediately, while he yet spoke, Yehuda came, one of the 12, and with him a large crowd with swords and clubs, from the chief Kohanim and the experts in the Torah and the elders. 44. And his betrayer had given them a signal, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Seize him, and lead him away safely. 45. And as soon as he had come, he goes straight away to him, and said, Rabbi, Rabbi, and kissed him. 46. And they seized him and took him. 47. And one of them that stood by drew a sword and smote a servant of the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, and cut off his ear. 48. And Yeshua answered and said to them, Have you come out as against a thief, with swords and with clubs to take me? 49. I was daily with ye in the Beth, the Hamikdash, the temple, teaching you, and you did not seize me. But the scrolls must be fulfilled. 50. And they all forsook him and fled. 51. And there followed him a certain young man, having a linen cloth cast about his naked body. And the soldiers tried to arrest him. 52. And he left the linen cloth and fled from them naked. 53. And they led Yahushua away to the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, and with him were assembled all the chief Kohanim and the elders and the scribes. 54. And Kepha followed him afar off, even into the palace of the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, and he sat with the servants and warmed himself at the fire. 55. And the chief Kohanim and all the council sought for witness against Yahushua to put him to death, and found none. 56. For many gave false testimony against him, but their testimony agreed not. 57. And there arose certain false witnesses against him, saying, 58. We heard him say, I will destroy this Beth Hamikdash, this temple, that is made with hands, and within 3 days I will rebuild another made without hands. 59. But neither so did their testimony agree together. 60. And the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, stood up in the midst and asked Yahushua, saying, Why do you not answer anything? What is it which these testify against you? 61. But he held his shalom and answered nothing. Again, the Kohen Hagadol, the high priest, asked him and said to him, Are you the Messiah, Ben Ha-Mabrek, the son of the blessed? 62. And Yahushua said, Ha-Yah, I am the Yah, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, and coming in the clouds of Shamayim. 63. Then the Kohen Hagadol, high priest, tore his clothes and said, What need we have of any further witnesses? 64. You have heard the blasphemy. What do you think? And they all condemned him to be guilty of death. 65. And some began to spit on him, and to blindfold him, and to strike him with fists, and to say to him, Prophesy. And the servants did strike him with the palms of their hands. 66. And as Kepha was beneath in the palace, there comes one of the maids of the Kohen Hagadol, high priest. 67. And when she saw Kepha warming himself, she looked upon him and said, And you were also with Yahushua of Nazareth. 68. But he denied, saying, I know not, neither I understand what you say. And he went out into the porch, and the crier blew the shofar. 69. And a maid saw him again, and began to say to them that stood by, This is one of them. 70. And he denied it again, and a little after, they that stood by said again to Kepha, Surely you are one of them, for you are a Galilean, and your accent agrees with this. 71. But he began to curse and to swear, saying, I know not this man of whom you speak. 72. And the second time the crier blew the shofar, and Kepha called to mind the word that Yahushua said to him, Before the crier blows the shofar twice, you shall deny me 3 times. And when he thought about it, he wept. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of Mark chapter 14. So let's go back and have a look at some of the footnotes. So let's go to the first footnote. So we have here chapter 14. After 2 days was the protection, mercy, salvation, Passover, when matzah is eaten. Okay, so let's have a look at this matzah. So this is the carb, the celebration of Passover, when unleavened bread is eaten. Okay, so that's the first footnote there. So let's go to the second footnote, which you have in verse 3. And being in Bethany, in the Beth house of Shimon, the jar merchant. So we have a footnote for jar merchant. So let's have a look at this. So it says here, see footnote on Matthew 26:6. The correct reading is a jar merchant and not a leper. Okay, so let's have a look at Matthew 26 and 6. The reading of Simon the leper is incorrect. In the Aramaic, it was a jar merchant. If Shimon was a leper, then lepers could not live inside the cities. Read Leviticus 13:46. And had to live outside the camp, while no healed leper would be referenced as a leper. The Aramaic words garabo means leper and garibi jar merchant, and are not easy to distinguish without vowel pointing. We can conclude from the text that the woman pours oil from a jar. It should be apparent that Shimon was a jar merchant. If Simon was a leper, then Yeshua, or that woman for that matter, would never enter his home because he would make them both ritually unclean. Okay? So, there you have more understanding on Shimon, the jar merchant, and not a leper. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is a continuation. As he sat at the meal, there came a woman. Okay, so let's have a look at this. There came a woman. So this is Mary of Bethania, sister of Martha and Lazarus, Eliezer. She anointed Yeshua. So let's have a look at, there's a footnote here for John 11 and 2. So let's see if we can have a look at John 11 and 2. So John 11 and 2 reads, It was that Miriam which anointed the Master, Adon, Lord, with ointment, and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Eliezer, Lazarus, was sick. Okay? So that's the footnote there for John 11:2. So it was Mary of Bethania, sister of Martha and Lazarus, Eliezer, that anoints Yahushua. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 12. And before the day of the Kag, Matzah, unleavened bread. So, and before, let's have a look at this and before. Here the Greek, protos, does not mean first day, but means before, because the Kag, celebration of unleavened bread, does not commence until a day after Passover. So it cannot be the first day of unleavened bread. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which we have in verse 16. And his disciples went forth and came into the city and found as he had said to them. And they made ready the protection, mercy, salvation, Passover. So let's have a look at this quickly. So we have a footnote here which reads, This was a rehearsal Passover that the rabbis did 1 day to 2 days earlier. Yeshua did this with his disciples because of common custom. It cannot be called a communion. Okay, so this was common custom that they were doing a rehearsal. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 22. And as they did eat, Yeshua took lechem, bread, and said the blessing over it, and broke it, and gave it to them. Okay, let's have a look at this, broke it. So we have a footnote here, which reads, This is a rabbinic oral custom. It's not necessary to follow rabbinic customs, as Torah did not command them. Okay, so this is a rabbinic custom, and Torah did not command them. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 24. And he said to them, This is my blood of the covenant, which is shed for many. Okay, let's have a look at this. This is my blood of the covenant. So we have a footnote for covenant here. So this is blood of the new covenant shed to rectify the breach that happened with the covenant with Abraham in Genesis 15:18. Okay, let's have a look at Genesis 15:18 quickly. So Genesis 15:18, and it reads, "On the same day Yahweh made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Mitzrayim, Egypt, to the river Forat, Euphrates." So we have a footnote for Euphrates, so let's have a look at this. The land of Israel has much bigger borders than today, and will one day receive all the land going into Iraq and coming down to parts of Egypt and Saudi Arabia, since the mountain of Sinai is in Saudi Arabia, and it too belongs to Israel. Okay, so Israel's borders are going to expand. Obviously, later on when Messiah returns, and Yeshua gathers his people back to the land of Israel. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 26. And when they had sung a hymn, okay, so we have a footnote for hymn. So let's have a look at this. So we have C footnote Matthew 26:30. So let's have a look at Matthew 26:30. So Matthew 26:30 reads, "And when they had sung a hymn," then we have a footnote here for hymn, which reads, the Hallel Tefillin, Psalms 113 to 118. Which was sung by the Hebrew people during the Passover meal. Tefillin, Psalms 113 and 114 was sung just before the second cup, and 115 and 118 was sung at the end of the meal after the fourth or Hillel cup. When the ending with the Psalm 118, they would recite the song, which was to fill in Psalms 145 and 10. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which we have in verse 27. "And Yeshua said to them, you shall all be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered." Okay, so we have here a footnote for scattered. So let's have a look at the footnote, which reads, see Zechariah 13 and 7. So let's have a look at Zechariah 13 and 7. So Zechariah 13 and 7 reads, and I'm going to read Zechariah 13 and 8 as well. So 7 reads, "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, says Yahweh of armies. Smite," and it's got here in brackets, Aleph Tav, "the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn my hand upon the little ones." And 8 reads, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, says Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein." So we have a footnote here for therein. Let's have a look at that. This has already happened once when the Romans killed 2/3 of the people in Israel during their reign. The next fulfillment will see 2/3 of Zionists from Israel removed. They are not the real Semitic Yahudim. They are not the real Jews. They are not B'nai Israel. Okay? So, that gives you more understanding of Zechariah 13, 7 and 8. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 30. And Yahshua said to him, verily I say to you, that this day, even this night, before the crier blows the shofar. Okay, so we have a footnote for shofar. So it says, see Matthew 26:34. So let's have a look at Matthew 26:34. So Matthew 26:34 reads, Yahushua said to him, verily I say to you, that this night, before the crier blows the shofar, you shall deny me 3 times. Okay, so we have a footnote for shofar, and it reads here, this was not a rooster, but it was a man who was the watcher, who would blow the shofar from the Beth Hamidash, the temple, during the feasts. And this is what is meant here. Many manuscripts wrongly have cockcrow. Unfortunately, most have run away with the Yashreeli chicken. A similarity is presented in Ezekiel 33:6. While scripture is clear on watches during the night, see the notes on the different watches. Exodus 14:24, Jude 7:19, and Lamentations 2:19. See solid proof that the Hebrew people had their own watchmen in Matthew 27:65. Okay, so this was the blowing of the shofar, the ram's horn, and obviously these were blown at the times of the watches. Okay, so certain hours of the day the shofar will be blown to let you know what time it was. So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 52. And he left the linen cloth and fled from them naked. So let's have a look at this. This is assumed to be Mark. He was wearing a linen cloth. This indicates that he was of a priestly order. He would not be completely naked because people wore breeches underneath. Mark was the son of Joseph of Arimathea, who was related to Yahshua's family. He was his uncle, which is why he was there. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 61. But he held his shalom and answered nothing. Again, the Kohen HaGadol, high priest, asked him and said to him, are you the Messiah, Ben Ha-Mabrek, the son of the blessed? So we have a footnote here, so let's read the footnote. The priest asked the question by concealing the true name as the Beneficent. This had become a custom in the 1st century to hide the name in the Pharisaic circles to protect the set-apart name of Yahweh. Okay, so to utter the name of Yahweh was not allowed by the Pharisaic circles. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote. Which is in verse 62. And Yahshua said, Ha-Yah, I am the Yah, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of the power, and coming in the clouds of Shamayim. Okay, so we have a footnote here for I am the Yah. So let's have a look at this. Yahushua here uttered the true name. See our footnote in the Hidden Truths We Break, Torah, Exodus 13:14. This is why they said you have blasphemed. Okay, so let's have a look at Exodus 3:14. Exodus 3:14 reads, "And Elohim said to Moshe, Musa, Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. And he said, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Ahaya has sent me to you." Okay, so we have a footnote here for Ahaya, Ashar. So let's have a look at this. There is a missing wa in the word olam, forever. So some ancient rabbim translate this word to an alternative reading as alem, meaning to conceal or to hide. But then it would make no sense for the text statement which says, "It is a remembrance to all generations." So if the name was to be concealed, it cannot be a remembrance. However, it can mean concealed under certain circumstances in order to protect the name, which is also important because we must protect the holy name and not use it in various states, such as ritually unclean, and also must not throw it around like a magic formula and defiling it. There are ways to protect it. Please see our article in www.forever-Israel.com under Ask the Rabbi. The article is how to protect the name. So we have another footnote here. "Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Ahaya has sent me to you." Okay, so let's have a look at this to you. Ahaya means light over the earth, and Ashar means risen sun over the earth. In this passage, we see the true name of Yahweh. Okay, so light over the earth. And Ahaya means light over the earth, and Ashar means risen sun over the earth. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is a continuation. "And Yeshua said, Hayah, I am the Yah, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of the power." So we've got a footnote here for power. The right side is the Gevurah, the strength side or judging side of Yahweh. Okay, so that's what it means, the right side. It's the judging side of Yahweh. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 68. "But he denied, saying, I know not, neither understand what you say. And he went out into the porch, and the crier blew the shofar." Okay, so let's have a look at this shofar. The Greek reads rooster, crow, but the actual Hebrew would be the crier blew the shofar as the Chag celebration was approaching. So that now brings us to the end of Mark chapter 14, and I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Beaton saying thank you for watching, and Shalom Shalom. Baruch Shem Kivod Malkuto Le'olam Va'ed. Whenever be the name of his esteemed kingdom, forever and ever and ever. Amen.